What's up, everybody? We're back for another video, and I am coming at you from my campsite in Fort DeSoto, which is near St. Petersburg in Florida. I have been here for 1.5 days. It's really only been 24 hours. I got here a little over 24 hours ago. And without further ado, I'd like to show you exactly what my view is from where I'm sitting right now outside my van. There we go. What you're looking at is this pole from my awning, but I have a waterfront campsite. And then here's my van. And I have, whoops, little stuff set up, my little fan, which is off right now because it's loud. It's actually not loud, but you'd be able to hear it. Some leftovers that I'm using as a camera stand, my Tupperware container, my phone, my Stanley cup. Yep, I'm in the club. And then this is the bag for my collapsible table. So yeah, you can kind of see, I've been watching birds like pelicans diving for fish, at least one raccoon, some ibis with the long beaks, and some squirrels. And then, not even 15 minutes ago, I was eating my dinner. It's actually after 6 o'clock, and I look down and I see a wing of a ladybug in my food. And I don't know if it just was blown in because like there was a fan right in front of me, or if a whole ladybug was in there and I ate the other part of it, or the rest of it. I really hope that it was just a wing that flew in. But I picked the wing out and I put it somewhere on the ground. I don't know where it went, but I did not want to eat even the wing. So, but who knows? Protein, I guess, right? I've actually been camping. Let's see, today is Tuesday evening. I've been camping since Thursday night. So just a little bit of a recap. Thursday, I left my house and spent like 4 hours getting to Tampa. And it's because I didn't listen to Google Maps. Google Maps tried to reroute me, but there was like a line waiting to get off the exit. And I was like, I don't want to sit in that line. And then as soon as I missed the exit that it was telling me to get off of, there were no more exits to get off the interstate. And I had to sit in an 1.5-hour traffic jam. 1.5 hours, that's how long it should take to get from where I live to Tampa, but it took me like 4 hours to get there. Anyway, I found my way to Picnic Island Park, which is near the MacDill Air Force Base. And I just kind of drove around. I mean, it was a really bumpy road, and there were some casualties. I lost the spice jar that I had been testing. I stuck a magnet and a metal lid spice jar underneath my cabinet, and it fell down and broke after all the bumpy roads at Picnic Island. So I vacuumed that up. That was the least of my mess, but the second mess I didn't have until I stopped. Don't get too far ahead of myself. Hopefully I'll remember to tell you about the other mess and what happened. It was a pretty big deal, so stay tuned. It gets really exciting. I've already broken something in my van, you guys. I've already broken something, but I'm gonna go sequentially. I stayed at Picnic Island Park, and I was parked waterfront inside the park because I had gone on iOverlander, and somebody said it didn't look like they went and closed the gate, and I didn't see anybody who worked for the Parks Department driving around the whole time I was there. Because there's a beach you can walk on. I played on the swings. It was really fun. And then I found the disc golf course in a really good spot, so I parked my van there and watched the sunset. It was beautiful. And I was sitting there, I think I was coloring. I have like a coloring book and some crayons in the van. Yes, I am very much in touch with my inner child, doing a lot of healing work, and we were coloring when I hear a honk, and I was like, oh no, it was like 9 o'clock at night. I mean, I'm glad it was at 9 o'clock at night and not like midnight or 1 o'clock, because I probably wouldn't have heard them. It was a really nice lady in a Parks Department vehicle. And I was like, oh, is it okay to park here? And she's like, unfortunately, I have to lock up. And she's like, but you can stay at the fishing pier, which I had already been to, so I knew exactly where it was. And that was by the boat launch, boat launches are like, I think, the best places to stay overnight in a van if you're boondocking, because they're almost always open 24 hours, and there's usually plenty of parking, especially at night, and nobody bothers you. So I got it from her. She said the words that it's open all night and that I could park there, and there was tons of parking. And so she was right. I drove my van over there and finished coloring. And I had no problem sleeping. Yeah. took my time getting ready in the morning, and when I hit the road, I was headed down towards not Sarasota and not Naples, but Estero, which is right kind of in between the two, closer to Naples than Sarasota, and that was a long drive. So it was like 2.5, 3 hours, but I got a notification on my dash that my oil was low, and so I went to a Napa auto parts store. You guys are learning what not to do in a van. Is not trust the Mercedes notifications, for one thing. I went to Napa Auto Parts and they put in way too much oil. Put in 5 quarts of oil, and then as soon as I left, the thing updated, because it doesn't update immediately apparently, which they didn't know that either. Another reason you shouldn't trust them. And it said too much oil, and I was headed to Trader Joe's, which is right around the corner. And I'm also really hungry, so I needed to go and get some food, and then I was like, okay, what do I do? And it's harder to think when your blood sugar is low. I was like, what do I do? And then I thought, okay, I don't have the tools to take the oil out, but I need to call someplace who does. And so I look up an oil change place. And there's one right down the street called Take 5. I'm sure you've seen them around. They're kind of all over the country, where you can pull in, you don't have to get out of your car, and they can take the oil out like underneath your vehicle. So I went there, and they were so nice and so patient. Even like getting my big ass van into the bay, they were really patient and directing me, and didn't even want any money. I tipped the guy $15. And I left them a really good review. But they were so patient, and they had me drive around the block, and the notification didn't go away, so I came back and they took a little more oil out and ended up with maybe like a quart and a little bit. It was 5 quarts. They took out most of what was put in. Gotta hydrate. And now the notification shows a little bit above the minimum line, so I don't really understand it. They don't have a dipstick in these vehicles, but long story short, err on the side of put less oil in. With these newer vans especially, I think everything's just electronic, and there's no mechanism that tells you. It should, for how much money it costs, right? These vans should say, oh, there's exactly this many liters of oil. It should be able to tell you exactly how much oil is in the tank. But it doesn't. So anyway, I finally get to the campground. It's Koreshan State Park, which is a really, really interesting place. I took no pictures, and the reason why is because it was so freaking hot. Like down in South Florida, and basically the summer, it's late September, mid-September now. It is so hot. I had swamp butt. I was not comfortable. We sat in the air conditioning and talked to the tour guide for like 45 minutes, and then she ended up giving us a ride back to the campsite. But I was in no place to take pictures. I was like, just get me out of here as fast as possible. But if you're looking for an interesting place to go, not in the heat of summer, I would recommend Koreshan State Park. It was really interesting. It's basically, without saying it in their guides, it was a cult that was started, and they believed that the universe was in the center of the earth. Really, really interesting stuff, and you got to walk around and see the settlement that they built. They were trying to build like a utopia, and they had a general store on the side of the road and all this stuff. They were trying to grow it to like a New Jerusalem with 10 million people, and they got to 200. But then the land was gifted to the state in, I think, the 60s, and it's kind of been a state park ever since. But interesting campground, and you probably heard me mention I kind of had a first date at a campground. I met somebody named Jeff on Bumble, and he was super nice. Hi, Jeff. He's also a fan of my videos, so he might be watching this one. We had a great time talking about all kinds of stuff. Definitely gonna stay friends. He lives down in Naples, so it wasn't very hard for him to come up and meet me, and he has an SUV, so he did some car camping and tried to stay in the AC in my van as much as possible, but we quickly learned that the AC doesn't carry very far to the front of the van, even on full blast. And even when I'm sitting there trying to eat, I sit at the front seat that swivels around. I have to have a fan on me, even when the air conditioner is on when it's super hot. So I am very much looking forward to getting out of the heat of Florida, and I'm going to do it as soon as my conference is over at the end of the month. I'm going to go visit my mom for a couple days, and then I'm heading north. Because I keep hearing from people up in like North Carolina, like my van builders, my van mom, Chris, told me, she said, it was like 57 degrees this morning. I talked to her on the phone. 57 degrees, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, it's 75 as soon as you wake up, and it gradually gets into the 90s. I think today the high was 85 or 86, and I've been very lucky to be able to sit outside and not sweat because, number one, I'm in the shade, number two, I'm by the water, so the breeze has been super, super nice, and you probably see the breeze in the background too. So really happy with this campsite. I do have some of my DIY bug spray on, but I sprayed it this morning, and I hardly even smell it anymore, so I'm pretty sure it's gone, but bugs aren't bothering me. I think because I'm yeah, it's just so breezy and there's really no place for them to set. But the fan helps too when it's on. And I think it'll get worse, like bugs might get worse as dusk sets in, and it's supposed to rain this evening too. I went to the beach last night though and saw the sunset. It was beautiful. Very windy at the beach. I couldn't get out my floaty. I had a little float that I wanted to, like a mesh kind of float that rolls. You don't have to blow it up or anything, but it was way too windy. I did get in the water anyway, and that was really fun, and stayed for sunset and then came back. I wanted to get back to my campsite before it got too dark, but I had no problem backing the van in, even though it was basically dark. And then I took a shower in the campground shower because I was covered in sunscreen and sand, and there was no way that I, with my limited water capacity and with the amount of scrubbing I needed to do, even though I can refill my water here anytime, I have to leave if I want to dump the water, and I didn't want to like fill up I wanted to have unlimited water, so I went and used the campground shower. But anyway, I'm jumping ahead a little bit because we're here now and it's most fresh in my mind that I'm at this campsite, but it was at the other campsite that I broke my stove. And thank God I found out pretty quickly, because I was Googling it immediately, that it's only like $160, $170 stove, so I've already got a new one on order. I have like a 2-burner stove, and I wasn't sure how it was installed, but I was like, please tell me that I don't have to like take the whole counter out to be able to replace this stove, but it's really just sat down in the counter with the hole made perfectly for it. I'm already going up to see my van builders again in October because I need to get a different alternator belt put on. The one I have works, but it's just not quite the right size, so we're gonna get that replaced, and then I'm gonna have them, thank goodness, help me replace my stove because I have to take out the pantry, and that part I think I could figure out on my own, but there's a bunch of other cords and stuff back there that I have to cut the zip ties, and then I could get the new stove put in, but then all the cords and stuff and tubing, I think it looks like plumbing tubing, is going to be loose if I cut the zip ties to get the old stove out. So I'm going to be up there anyway. I was like, I think I'm going to wait for you guys to do it, because otherwise I have to take my pantry out twice, once to take it out and then put it all back with the new one in there, but not like zip tied. Yeah, it's really important with the vans that you have everything kind of secured wire wise, and they did such a great job with the zip ties. I was like, I'm gonna mess this up, and I don't have the zip tie skills to be able to do this the right way. Just feel safer, you know, to have the professionals repair my baby. But then, yeah, so how did I break my stove? It was something in the overhead. It was my vitamin containers in the overhead, not the one directly above the stove, but the one to the right of the stove. And I thought they were safe because even if they were to fall out, they would fall to the right of the stove and not directly on the stove. But I mean, when you're driving, especially on rougher roads, things can shift in ways that, like, it could slant itself and then set itself up for, you know, falling into any direction. So there was a container, a plastic basket full of little glass IKEA vitamin jars, similar to the one that fell off the magnet and broke, but it didn't break the stove. Didn't even touch the stove. Crashed all over the floor. Like, there was glass everywhere, but weirdly only 2, maybe 3 of the glass jars broke, because I still have 23 of them left, so I think I only lost 1 or 2. A ton of them didn't break, but the ones that did, and just the fact that so much hit the stove coming out, it cracked the stove top. I've already ordered silicone, like a thick silicone craft mat that's a few inches, maybe even like 1 inch on each dimension, bigger than the stove, to cover the stove and protect it from further breaks while I get the new one put in, because I don't want any more of it to break, because it's just, you don't want more broken glass. It's like little tiny shards of glass that come off the top from the impact. But then I definitely want to protect my new one as well, and having this thick silicone mat on top, it's kind of sticky on the bottom. It's made for crafts, and it was only $10. I'll show you guys that when I have it in. But it's just a black mat, so my stovetop is black. I'll be able to cover that up, and it has uses when it's covered up. I mean, if there's a craft mat on top of it, then I could easily set like a plate down on it. Like, I wouldn't obviously, you know, still want to avoid things falling on it for sure, but something like silicone, especially a thick pad of it on top of the stove that A, doesn't move, and B, will cushion any impacts that do fall, because there's just, in a van, it's somewhat unpredictable. You can do a lot to secure things. Like, I have baskets and different shelves, and I'm already trying to figure out ways to, like my collapsible silicone very lightweight, not sharp edges at all. Tea kettle, I was like, what is the word? Also fell out and broke the stovetop even more. So I was like, man, this is a problem. So what I think I'm gonna do is get like a tiny little curtain rod, just a small tension rod, and secure, ooh, I think I see a fish out there. Kind of look like a shark fin, but I think it's just a fish. Ooh, maybe it was a shark. I'm trying to get some fish, I don't know. Just got crazy for like 2 seconds out there. But if I put the tension rod in the cabinet, it will prevent things from falling out, or at least buy me some time, right? So that happened while I was in Estero at Koreshan State Park. But yeah, and I've been using the dishwasher since I've been cooking quite a bit. I've made tacos both nights that my friend Jeff was at the campsite with me, and those were some of the best tacos. Made some homemade guacamole, and so I've been using the dishwasher a lot. I've used it, let's see, I've been gone for, I want to say 5 days now, and I've used the dishwasher at least 3 times, if not 4 times. Like, I've been running it basically daily. The only time I didn't run it was when I didn't have access to power and I was running on battery, because my battery will be at 100% if I drive for like an hour and a half. So I got to like Picnic Island State Park and I really didn't cook. I think I ate some leftovers that I had from home. But when I cook, I just put whatever I can in the dishwasher, and so it's like my Instant Pot lid, any plates, any tools, and it's not a very big dishwasher, so it's easy to fill up. And then when I am hooked up to shore power around the dishwasher, it takes, I think the shortest cycle length is 46 minutes, but I tend to run the 2-hour one just because it does a better job cleaning, and if I'm hooked up to power I don't have to worry about it taking up too much power, and it takes the same amount of water regardless of what cycle you run, which is only 0.7 gallons. So all the people who think it's crazy if you're eating a dishwasher in the van, I like to cook, so I like to make smoothies, and it saves water. It saves water, and if you have access to power, it just makes sense. So yeah, if you're thinking about getting a dishwasher and you like to cook, then I don't think you'll regret it. I don't at all. Like, having used it as much as I have, I didn't even expect to use it that much. I was thinking I'd use it every 3 days or something, but yeah. So I wasn't sure what I wanted to do after I left Estero. This checkout was around 1 o'clock, so I had kind of a slow morning like I like, and I left Estero and I thought I might go stay someplace in Sarasota and go to the Ringling Museum on Monday. But I'm towards the end of my monthly cycle, or about to start a new one, and my energy is just really low, and I know like women watching this are going to be like, yeah, I know exactly how you feel. And so I just didn't feel like doing anything. I was just like, I just want to chill, you know? I don't want to go walk through a museum for hours and hours, and there's a lot to see outside at the Ringling Museum as well. And it being so hot, I didn't fancy being outside either. So I was like, I'm gonna come back. I know I'll spend more time in Florida when it's not hot, and then it would be a great time to go to the Ringling Museum. So I ended up finding a host through Boondockers Welcome, or Harvest Hosts, and they were awesome. They were waterfront, Terry and Steve. They were near Venice, so if you're a fan of Harvest Hosts and you're a van lifer or you have a camper or anything like that, look up Terry and Steve. They're near Venice. They were amazing. They were surprised to have somebody this time of year, it being so hot, but I was just there for an overnight and wanted to leave in the morning, so they were very accommodating, gave me a great tour of their property and had some information about Venice. I really want to go back when it's not so hot and I can actually sit outside. I felt very much at home there. And they had power. I gave them $10 to be able to hook up to their power. And then I left around 11 the next morning. And you guys are going to laugh at this, but I drove from Terry and Steve's place in Venice to a nail salon right near the exit that I got off of towards Fort DeSoto Park, because my nails had grown out so much, and I get the dip powder done. My nails had grown out so much that I really needed to get them done or removed, but I like to have something hard on top of them, because when you're out camping, they come in handy. The nails do. They're like tools at the end of your fingers, but when they get too long, they become more cumbersome than anything, so I needed to get them cut and I needed to get them redone. So I got a pedicure too while I was there. So I did that, and then I headed over to Fort DeSoto Park, where I am now, and I just kind of scoped out the camp spot when I first got here after I checked in, and then drove over to North Beach, where I sat in my chair and watched the sunset with my water. I did get in the water for a little bit, but it was so breezy that towards the end of the night, when the sun was going down, I started to feel a little bit cold. I didn't get sunburn either. I had my homemade sunscreen on. Yeah, then I came back to the campsite and went, took a shower, and then had a nice relaxing evening. Made myself a smoothie for dinner, which I don't recommend and I will never do again. because I had to pee like 14 times in the middle of the night. But today I really enjoyed just chilling. I think I needed a day like that where I could just decompress. I took a walk around the campground. It was still a little bit too warm, but it wasn't too bad. Yeah, just being out here by the water and feeling the breeze, watching the fish. I could get used to this. So I'm here for Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night. 3 more nights. I'm here for 4 nights total. I'm looking forward to every minute of it. I think tomorrow I might go up to the produce store that's on Tierra Verde, the island that this park is on, just to get some more produce, but I might see if I can make what I have stretch for the next couple days just for fun, and because I don't want to leave the campsite. And it's supposed to rain a lot more throughout the rest of the week. I'm really grateful to have been outside the last couple days, and I have this awning so I could still be outside. But yeah, so that is the update from my first trip, and I've seen a lot of questions come through. I plan on going through and answering the questions that I see. I'm really thrilled with the amazing comments and just nice things that I've seen people say. I delete every mean comment, so don't even waste your breath. If you're just gonna be mean and make fun of me or say something unkind, then I'm just gonna delete it, so whatever. I'm here for the people who want to be here and who want to learn and who want to hear what I have to say about my life and my business and my mental health journey and how I got where I am and how I'm feeling about where I am, what I'm learning along the way. Those are the people that want to be here, and those are the people that I want to talk to, and those are the people that I'm thinking of when I'm making these videos. So thank you to all you guys who subscribed. It makes me feel really good to know that I'm not talking to nobody out there. Although, like I said, I'm making these videos for one person who needs to hear them, even if that's just me, when I'm 80 and I'm watching these videos and I needed the reminder of something I said or something like that. So that's kind of the approach that I'm having. And that's why you're very likely not going to see me doing product reviews or anything that the influencer type does, or you're not going to see me documenting every step of my travels, because I'm not out there doing stuff with a camera in my hand like, oh, I gotta capture this, I can show my subscribers. Like, I'm just not into that. I'm into sharing the heart of it and the emotions behind it and the feelings and thoughts and the lessons and the experience of it. So there's plenty of travel videos out there. There's plenty of videos about this very park. If you want to know more about this park, then go watch a video on this park. That's what's cool about YouTube, is that there's something for everybody. So if you're here because you like my style, I like your style. Stick around, because we're just getting started.